just means that it's just better opportunities for buyers at this point right now. It's not like it's not drastic, but it's definitely higher than it's been historically.
Okay.
For the last 4 or 5 years, it's a little higher than
Because
that.
things were going same day, like you almost couldn't blink and it was gone, and gone for above asking price.
I mean, it's still going. It's still going quickly. It's just that not as fast as as before. So it's like days on market is increasing.
So what about prices? Are you seeing prices coming down? Are they stabilized? Because before everything was going for above asking prices. That's still the
So I'm seeing more of a flattening.
Okay,
a little more flattening, but it's still it's still there. Still sells
in some markets. Yeah.
It still sells market.
But it sounds like there's
Boston.
a little more flexibility back in the market where you can negotiate with them rather than just having to go in above asking. Right. You can even maybe go in at asking.
Maybe. Well, it depends on the property.
Right.
It's that's the whole thing about New England. It's so much different than some of these other areas in the States where it's not tract homes. So my neighbor's home is not exactly off by maybe $5,000 from my home. You can literally have a $700,000 home right next to a an $850,000 home. Yeah. So it's so unique, each home. So it all depends per property. But I would say instead of there being 35 offers on the property, maybe there's 17.
Okay,
it's still a lot. Instead of 10, there's maybe 5. So it's still very competitive. Yeah.
Let's take Boston for instance, because they were saying the average price a home in Boston was over $900,000. Right. Is that still the case?
It's still up there. So that hasn't dropped. We're not in a depression or anything like
okay.
So. So that's still up there. Yeah. It's still what it is. And someone said as far as investing goes, someone just like. It's just instead of being that white picket fence, that first home, it might just be that townhouse or condo. Instead of the condo, it might be again like a house hack at first. So you just have to adjust expectations.
So you really have to be flexible, is what I hear you saying.
Right.
You can't get everything you want in that first bite, right? Since
right.
You instead of just going to the dessert, you definitely have to try the appetizer.
Right. You might need to go a little further. Like Easton's a great town, great area to start at. I mean, it would be great if you can start in Boston. It's just that, like you said, that.
So Easton
it's right next to Sharon, Foxborough.
No, I know it is. I thought I would think that would be more expensive than Boston because it's historically those have been
no.
Yeah,
wow.
It's a lot more affordable.
Because of the new construction going on in Boston, like you've got all the and again, a lot of them are just rental properties, and because people either don't want to buy or aren't buying. Right. But again, it's like all those condos, studios, 1-bedroom, 2-bedrooms, the amenities, and the fact that they're close to transportation hubs.
Right. But I always thought because a lot of people look at the school system, things like that are factors, right? And whether or not they want to buy in Boston, you almost have to factor in if you buy here. Having to put your child in a private school or something of that caliber, so you have to factor that cost in as well
charter
on top of the housing. So, Cora, what's it looking like? I know you said the interest rate's gone. Where is someone with over say 750 credit score? Because that weighs in on what type of interest rate you're going to get. What's the going rate right now as it's here today for an interest rate?
Well, it depends also. If they're first-time home buyers, you're looking at 6.25%. For regular conventional loans, you're looking at 6.5%, and even for jumbo, we are at 6.625%. So that's not bad.
But does your credit factor into those rates you're giving? Because
yes,
those sounds like
absolutely.
People with good credit. Okay.
Absolutely. So those rates are for those with good credit. Over 700.
If you're around 6, like what's the minimum, the lowest you can qualify? Like if you have a credit score,
620.
So at 620, where
but at that score, they're better off doing the government loans like the FHA.
Okay.
And then if they're VAs, that's even better. If they're veterans.
When you said government, I'm just wondering now, with all of this uncertainty going on in there, is that going to impact people who were? Because a lot of these programs, it seems like that's what they're targeting to eliminate the funding for. Right?
Maybe that's the reason why the rates are going down, because they have to incentivize people to buy. I think that's because we're already approaching the spring market, and normally approaching the spring market, prices of homes are going up, interest rates are going up. But this week the rates went down.
Wow.
As of Friday, those rates that I just gave you are as of Friday.
I've heard it's been going down for like the last 5 weeks, right?
Well, not 5 weeks.
4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, probably 3 to 4.
3 to 4.
Yeah,
617-282-0685, 617-282-0685. Listening at the round table. And folks, if you have any real estate mortgage questions, you have two of the best, the brightest that I know, and probably in the business here, willing to answer those questions for you. So if you want to get that information, get that known to you, give them a call here. Again, 617-282-0685 is the number. 617-282-0685 is the number here. And we have Sam and Cora in studio. Cora,
I just want to backtrack a little bit on your question about why the rates are going down. Well, why the rates are going down, the restrictions are still in place.
Thanks for the update.
So in the last 2 years, the guidelines have been restrictive, especially Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, because there's the pressure on them to perform. So, and not lose homes like what happened in the past. So the restrictions. That's why I say they're better off. Those with a below 660 credit score, they're better off with government loans like FHA.
So,
Or if they're lucky, they can get a USDA with 100% loan.
would you recommend that if someone did have a low credit score, maybe work fixing their credit score first and then trying to, or would you say,
yes?
Okay.
But if they can buy now, and the FHA is really great right now, so it's about 6 to 6.25 rate. So
And can you explain the difference between an FHA loan and a regular loan? Like, what's the major difference?
Which is to my point, on the underwriting guidelines, it's easier to get approved with an FHA loan if you have a low credit score, as long as it's not really that they're behind on their payments. If they have collection, then that's the one that will need a credit repair.
Okay.
But if they have 620 only because they probably overused their credit card because it was the holiday two months ago, but they paid it up and just maybe at 50% or 75%. So they can still. But with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which are known as the conventional loans, they don't like those with with red flags in their credit and with low credit score.
Yeah.
And then high LTV because on a conventional and FHA you get 3.5% and 3% with sorry about that. So they it's easier on the underwriting system to get approved.
So what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, from the two of you, is that even with all this uncertainty and everything, this is probably a good time. Sounds like rates are down. There's inventory out there. If you're in a position, but I think again, it depends on where your employment is. People don't know. Well, I can buy, but am I able to hold on to it if I work for the federal government or I'm a contractor with them and I don't know what the next 6 months are gonna be? People, because they're saying even now we're looking at prices of food has not gone up, inflation has ticked up a little bit. These are all things that impact if I've got to spend more for eggs if I can even find them. I wish I had an egg farm right now. Those are all variances. When you go to the store, because what's the percentage of your income that they allow you if you're buying a home? Can it be any more than
45 to 47%?
Right. Okay.
That's what you call the debt to income ratio.
Okay. And explain to people a little bit more what that is. A lot of people aren't.
Yeah.
So it's your total debt payments every month, or versus your gross income that you're receiving. We peg it at 47 up to 47% because it's expected that the rest, the 53%, should go towards your cost of living,
Right.
and hopefully some savings too. But some like government loans allow that. This is the other difference. Government loans allow up to 55% total debt ratio, which means all your obligations every month on credit cards, everything that appears on a credit report, plus your monthly mortgage payment, what we call the principal, interest, tax, and insurance, and mortgage insurance. They can go on FHA. They can go up to 55%, but on conventional loans, they can only go up to 48 to 49% if the credit scores are good.
Okay.
But anything below 660, you go FHA because conventional is not going to
It's
approve.
not gonna. You're not gonna get approved.
Yeah,
You
if,
listen
with
to
a high debt ratio.
Listen to At the Roundtable with MAMLEO. Calling here, number is 617-282-0685. 617-282-0685. In studio is one of the sponsors of the At the Roundtable with MAMLEO. We're so proud and happy to have her. As Cora Holbrook from the Money Store. Also, Sam Reimer from Reimer Realty Group is here. Folks, explain the 1031 exchange.
Yeah.
Sounds like the stock market. What is that?
Right. So the 1031 exchange, also known as the Starker rule, is
The
basically
what rule?
a Starker rule.
I thought you said stalker. I was like,
Starker, yeah, JD Starker, yeah.
okay, we
So
got
we-
laws against that.
The Stark, yeah, it's one of the best opportunities in the real estate investment field to be able to build your wealth. It's a tax deferment vehicle that many investors use to pretty much get a free loan from Uncle Sam to continue to build their net worth. And a lot of people don't know about it, and it is the most potent.
Well, can you explain exactly what it is? Because most people, you hear 1031,
Right.
but you don't know where's that money coming from.
Right. So the origin of the 1031, it was put into place back in the beginning of the IRS, in the beginning of the income tax, back in 1920. It was like the reason for it was farmers trading land. Before there was no income tax, but when they put an income tax in, when I trade land with you, there's no realized gain, so there shouldn't be any tax on it. So that was the idea behind it. And then in the 1970s, there was JD Starker. He had an idea of, he wanted to do an exchange, but he wanted to be he took 5 years to do the exchange, and was the first person to do it for over 5 years. It wasn't just trading farmland. And so the IRS put into different rules, which included the time frame you had to do that exchange in. And so basically, it's the ability to buy and sell real estate property without any realized gain, so deferring your taxes on that. So 35%.
So in layman's terms, it's basically you're rolling over any gains into the next purchase.
Right.
So you're not paying any capital gains because
Right.
you
Yes.
haven't taken it out.
Right.
But there is a time frame.
Right.
So what, this 60 days?
There's a lot of those.
45 was it 45 days?
Right. So first,
6 months
I should have said this in the beginning. I am not a CPA. I'm a real estate agent. I try to stay in my lane. So anyone that wants to do a 1031, I work with a lot of people doing 1031s, but I will put you into contact with a CPA to do that. But so I should have started with that. But what it is, it's for an example. Let me give an example. Let's say you have you bought a property for, let's say, $100,000, and over the last 20 years went from 100,000 to $1 million. Right. So you literally have $900,000 in
Gain.
Capital gains, yeah.
Right? So when you sell that property at $900,000, Uncle Sam wants their money. Right? So if you were to sell it straight out, you probably have about $300,000 in capital gains. But instead of cashing out right now, what you can do is do a 1031 exchange, buy another property for a like-kind property for equal or more. So let's say, that $1 million, now you buy something for 1.5 or 1 million, and then that $300,000 you don't have to pay. It rolls all into your next property. So think of it like Uncle Sam saying, okay, you hold on to that 300 for now. We'll talk about it later. And so what a lot of investors do is you just add that to your portfolio. When you pass, your heirs will receive that with a stepped up basis. So basically they don't have to pay the taxes on that. So you bought it for 100, your heirs get it at 2 million in value. When they receive it at 2 million, and they pay no taxes on
But that is if the person actually puts it in a will and or trust.
trust,
Yes.
If it's inherited,
Yes.
period.
No, well, a lot of people don't understand that you
Right.
have to have legal paper to do that.
Right. So with the legal, well, that's your wheelhouse. But however, it's do it the correct way.
Yes.
As long as it's done correctly, your heirs will receive it.
Because unfortunately, a lot of people tend to lose the properties 9 months after the primary owner of the property passes away because of the estate tax.
And I know you said
Go
you're
into
not.
the
I
detail.
was going to say. I know you said you're not an accountant, but so would there be in that situation, if an inheritance tax on that individual for receiving that
No,
property?
no, no. There's no inheritance tax when you receive the properties. It's a
Okay.
stepped up basis. So basically, again, if you bought it for 100,000, when you pass it's now worth 2 million.
Yeah.
Your heirs will receive that with the stepped up basis at 2 million,
Okay.
and so they don't have to pay any taxes. So let's say if they sold it a year later or 2 years later, and it goes from 2 million to 2.2, they may have to pay taxes on that.
See, this is why
200,000.
having you folks here is so important, because this type of conversation, because let's be real, a lot of people that look like us are not homeowners, so this conversation doesn't take place around the dinner table or even a lot of people in their circle. So if you don't own a home, and then even when you do own a home, a lot of the technical conversations like this on how to keep it and what the benefits are for like the depreciation value on a home of things of that nature aren't being discussed. So on this 1031, is that applicable to your primary residence? Is that applicable to investment properties as well for our listening audience?
Right. So 1031 is only for investment property. So you're just not really in your primary. You have a on your primary property. You do have a residential like tax
Exemption.
exemption. So like, you know, I think
Up to
it's
half a million if for husband and wife.
$250,000 per person.
So if
Yeah.
if your gains is $500,000, then you don't have, and you buy something
Right.
else, you don't have to pay
taxes.
taxes on
So
it.
let's say you and your spouse, you buy a house for 500,000. You know, you bought it like 10 years ago, and now it's worth $1 million. You don't have to pay tax on that $500,000 gain.
So,
You can
yeah.
roll that entire thing into, or take some off the table. So that's for primary.
Okay.
Yeah. But so for commercial or investment, it's you can the entire amount, but you have to do you have to go through a 1031 exchange, and there's all kinds of steps, like you mentioned. One of the that's why they call this Starker rule, because he did this over 5 years. The IRS took him to court over it, and following that they made these strict rules on how long you have to actually do the exchange. Basically, after selling the property, well, there's multiple types of 1031s, but this one's called the delayed 1031. Basically, you have 45 days from the sale of your property to identify
right.
another property. You can identify 3 properties or more. There's different rules on that. And then you have 180 days from the close of the relinquished property, the one you sold, to close on the next one.
Okay. I
So-
didn't know that.
But
Yeah.
if you end up not using all of the money that's in the 1031 exchange,
And yeah, you can. So if you
then
don't use
you will be taxed for the
Right.
for that.
just the amount you took
that you didn't use.
Right, and and all what you're saying is because I've done it, I've utilized that in my, so I know, but I want people to understand.
Right,
That's why I'm asking these
Right.
questions. As if I didn't, if I'm the consumer out there listening, how
Okay.
does this work?
And let me ask you this: so if you do a 1031 exchange and then you buy a new property, and then you use the money, part of the money to buy the property, and then you use part of the money to renovate the property, is that still going to be tax exempt, or if you're the home improvements don't count?
No, so there's something called build-to-suit 1031 exchange. That's possible. It's more complex.
Okay.
It's possible, more complex. So basically, the delayed, basically, what you're saying is you're going to sell the property and you're going to buy a new one. And Uncle Sam's like, we're not going to tax you within this time frame. So what you're talking about is something called a build-to-suit 1031. Basically, what you want to do is identify it first. And there's ways to have the renovations done before the closing of your property, and then you can pretty much do that.
Oh, do it that way
And
instead.
then they have something called a reversed 1031, where basically what people do is they'll pretty much make the purchase and then sell the property within the same calendar year. You can do that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, there's been a lot of talk here in the city with taxes going up. That also affects property people purchasing. I know in Boston here, there is a residential exemption. There's an exemption of a certain age. That is not applicable in most cities in town. I think Boston may be the only city that I'm aware of that offers that. So it does help a little bit in easing the burden of tax preparation, because I know like outside of Boston, the taxes are worse. I think people think Boston's bad. You live in some of these suburban towns where that's the basic basis for how they support themselves is their
Right.
property taxes. I want to in the commercial, because that was a whole controversy, is that the mayor of Boston was saying that there's not as much commercial space being utilized. Like people are still working a lot from home, so a lot of businesses are not back in there. Is this a good time for people to be looking at maybe commercial space as an investment? Do you know?
Right.
And then Well, Corey, what would be the process for someone trying to get a loan to purchase a commercial? So I'll start with you, Sam. As far as is this a good time to buy commercial?
Right, absolutely. Be greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy. So right now,
I'll put that on a T-shirt.
Yeah. So right now, the commercial space absolutely in Boston is like absolutely underutilized, and it is a great opportunity, especially with there's a big push for back to work. So maybe it's not. Some people are not even doing full time, but they'll go back 1 to 3 days a week, right? And so this space will be utilized. I mean, it's prime real estate. So I absolutely recommend commercial. It is the graduation of real estate investors, right? You might start with a 2-family, then you elevate to like some multi-families, but then commercial's where it's at. Like that's where you want to be. It has the most tax benefits, the best terms as far as lease terms and stuff like that. So
you don't have to go to housing court either.
Right, like Massachusetts, one of the toughest parts of real estate investing is the laws behind the protection, consumer protection, which is great. It's just that when you're on the landlord side, sometimes it's not ideal.
Believe you me, I know.
Sometimes
you go broke trying to
yeah.
get them out of there.
Because some of them are experts.
Yeah.
Some of those experts in knowing how to like ride the system.
Professional tenants, right?
Sometimes,
I
right.
was in housing court one time, just a quick story, and a woman comes up to me, and I was evicting a tenant, and she says, do you have anything available? I said, ma'am, the last place I'm looking for a tenant is at housing court. You might be the best tenant in the world, but
Don't ask me that.
She said,
Wrong
no, it's my
place.
landlord. I'm like, yeah, I've heard that. I'm a landlord. So I said, listen, I don't even want to, we're not even going to debate it.
Wow.
We're all set.
So right, yeah. So like with commercial, you have something called triple net lease. Like they're paying the taxes,
insurance, the water bill.
insurance, and repairs.
Right.
So you just make sure your check comes on time. It's some of the most hands-off real estate you could possibly buy. So,
Cora, does the money store do commercial, and is the rates the same, or are they higher for
No,
commercial?
they're higher.
Oh, so right
Anytime
now,
that the property is earning income,
okay.
the rates are higher.
And what would be like on a commercial rate today?
Ooh, it's above 7%. That's
Okay,
for sure.
okay.
Yes, and then you have to put more down payment.
Okay.
There are
So-
some smaller programs that offers like 10%, but that's very
Okay.
rare.
And there's also there's also people who are hard money lenders
Yeah,
out there.
they're above 10%, of course.
Right.
But some
Well,
of the projects nowadays, even the lenders for commercial properties are going greedy also. So
Could you explain, if you guys can, what a hard money lender? I know it is for people, because people hear about it, they go to them because sometimes they can't get a regular mortgage, or they
Yeah.
need a little bit more.
Well, you said it.
And
That's the way it is.
Well, hold
if you
on.
can't go to regular mortgage, then private lenders.
You wouldn't do a hard money for for a long term
Right.
Yes.
situation.
It's like bridge financing.
It's a bridge
only.
financing. You're talking construction. Like you just bought something, you want to renovate, and you want to convert that into a fixed rate with core pretty quick.
And can you use the property that you just acquired as collateral for the hard money? Because now
Well, that's what they want.
Absolutely.
Right.
I mean,
Absolutely.
they look more at the property than.
Yes.
I mean, that's one of the benefits of hard money is they want to see how long have you been in the business, how long have you been doing it. If your credit, they want to see,
Because what they're looking at, like,
deal.
it's a viable business. Like, if you go away, they can still take it over.
Right. They want to be able to take over that deal to
yeah.
make sure that they.
And they're going to record it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
The mortgage, there's no difference except that they're faster.
So
they
the-
don't have to go through all the regulatory things.
So it's almost like having a second mortgage on the property with the hard money. It's when they record it. Just simplify for people. It's like almost taking out a second mortgage on your property.
No, it's hard money lenders want to have first position.
Right.
Oh,
They're giving you the money because you can't get it through a regular channel. So
right. But can
They're
they
going to-
remove? Because from my understanding, the mortgage that you have the first takes priority over if you get a second, or so is hard money moves in front of
Well,
it?
hard money is not for residential, like for personal use. This is investment, right? So
Okay.
if
for
you have-
invest, yes,
Yeah. So usually they want they want the first position.
first position.
And they want like they're gonna
And
if
then
something happens, if you can't perform on it, they're gonna take the
yes,
property.
and
That's
then but the exit mechanism should be they want to exit within a year. or right after, if you're doing any project or as
It's short term, like
Short
18
term,
months.
yes. Right.
They'll
It's
give
just-
you something
it's
like that.
just a bridge.
It's not.
Right.
It's just a bridge.
It's not
Yeah.
a long.
And it's like higher. You know, if you get a 9, you're doing amazing. 10,
yeah.
10.
So
plus.
most flippers, those who buy and sell, this is what they do.
Right.
Because they they do
They need the
multiple
money
projects. They need the
and-
money right
And
away.
they're not going to hold on to it, so they absorb
Yes.
it. And,
Mhm.
Yes, and that's
gonna
why
make a
after the
profit.
project is finished, then they flip it,
Right.
sell, and then the hard money gets their money back.
So, quick question in regards to like when my dad purchased his house here in Boston, he bought a 3-decker, and that was considered a primary residence with 2 rental. Is that still the case, or is that now a 3-decker considered commercial property?
Commercial starts at more than 4. So
Yes,
Okay.
over 4.
So 2 to
3,
2 to 4
2 to 4.
is
Yeah.
still considered residential,
Okay.
It's up to 4 units.
and that 5 units plus will be a commercial loan.
All right, no,
Right.
because okay, all right,
Yeah.
and
But if it's the use is to rent it out, then it's called investment property.
understood.
But it's still a residential.
Restaurant prop, okay.
So the use of the property is what.
But do you
also
get taxed differently on commercial property versus
Oh, yes.
regular property?
Yes.
Okay.
Like in the city of Boston, it could be like $40 something per $1,000 assessed value, right?
Mhm.
But on commercial, it could be 18 or 20 plus. Actually, 20 plus is what I'm saying.
Right. So what you see in the cities, like kind of what you were saying before, what cities do and towns do is they offset residential taxes with commercial taxes.
Right.
So that's why
Right.
a lot of towns and cities, they want more commercial development because it'll help offset the residential tax. That's why Boston you can pretty
Right.
much get a
So, and also, I just want to go
exemption.
back to that, the commercial property, what you
Mhm.
mentioned, because I think people need to understand, not just on the buying, but if you're looking to rent commercial property, the triple net, right, is that it's not like when, if you own a home, the landlord can't, unless it's changed in Boston, can't charge you like for the water bill and the insurance and things like that. But when you're coming to rent a commercial space, the owner can charge you for he can incorporate what he's paying for. Okay.
So so basically it's not customary in Boston to have any of that stuff transferred over. There are ways to separate out if it's separately metered to have the tenant pay water, but it's not common. That happens though, and it's really not common to have the tenant pay any taxes on it.
Right.
So that definitely doesn't happen much.
Right.
But yeah, but with commercial, absolutely, it's like a triple net. They'll
Right.
cover the water, the taxes,
Right.
maintenance, and you really are just making
So
sure.
I think people, and the reason why I bring that up, and I thank you guys for explaining it, because I think people really need to understand when they're looking to rent commercial space,
Right.
that they have to factor that into their cost, that the landlord is most likely going to not just be charging you for the rent
Right.
of the space, but these other things as part of that.
Utilities,
Right,
the
triple net.
usage, and stuff.
Right,
and
right. So
repairs.
if you have a business, something like a business going into a commercial space,
Yes.
yeah, absolutely, you need to factor that in. It's not just the rent, but that they that's very clear to them up front, and
Mhm.
you got to make sure that your revenues are covering
Yeah.
those expenses.
So,
absolutely.
so Sam and Cora, I'm like I said, acting here as if I've never bought a home. Today, I'll have all this uncertainty. Don't know, whether I'm gonna. What would be your recommendations for someone just trying to start out? Like I said, and Boston might not be it's the most desirable place for me, but it may not be the most affordable. Where would you guys suggest me looking to get started? And what would you say would be the minimum that you would think that a person should have in their savings or access to get into a home?
I saw this post one time. It said the bank doesn't think I can afford $2,000 in rent, but I can spend it's a $2,000 mortgage, but I can spend $3,500 in rent, right? So
That's a great point. Wow, it's just
Okay,
true, right?
okay.
Yeah, great,
Right.
true, right.
so my whole thing is always getting where you fit in. So if it needs to be out a little bit further from the city, I have some people that they started looking around the Canton area, and eventually they went to Rhode Island, right? So
Yeah,
so
and
you
that's
go
what pushed the prices in Rhode Island up.
Yes.
right. So
Well, if you go west,
Yeah.
you can go
up
west,
to Fall
you can
River
go north.
too.
Yeah.
Right. If you go
South is Fall River, but
Yeah.
west is Leominster,
Worcester.
Worcester.
Worcester,
Yeah.
Marlboro. There's affordable towns out there. Grafton's pretty good. for a single fam, you can get a single family in that area for about $550.
Well, when you just mentioned Marlboro, because I was watching on the news last night, and there's a big controversy going on between the Attorney General and the governor with the town of Marlboro, so because there is something in there where they have to put up housing near
the T stop,
and there's something where they're not that's kind of affordable. So it sounds like from what you're saying is that they want more housing in these communities,
right,
because there's very little real estate left to build.
Right. So
others.
Right. So there's a big push for the whole state to there's within 1 mile of any public transportation train station, they want increased density. So a lot of towns, Milton's still kicking. There's a lot of towns that are pushing back on it.
Right.
They're going through court and all that. There's a lot of deadlines that are being missed. Mm-hmm. So there will be more building coming up, and so that's really good. But yeah, there's a lot of towns. Just do your homework. Do your research. Work. I say it's all about the team. Mm-hmm. So my advice is to get in where you fit in and build the right team. You got to put people around you that knows what they're doing, and going together.
Well, this is why people like you and Cora, so someone coming to you to buy a home, that there are programs available, but let's say that I'm not. Let's say, I work for the city of Boston as a police officer. I wonder who did that, right? Me. Mm-hmm. And I come to you and I don't qualify for these programs. What would be the optimum, let's just say $800,000 home? What would I need to even, and my credit is good, but what would I need to have in my savings or whatever to be able to come to you and say, hey, I want to buy this home, but what do I need to start doing now so that I can save, so when I do come to you, I'm in good shape?
Well, an $800,000 home still qualifies for a 5%, 10% down payment, but if the debt ratio, it depends on the debt ratio, because the higher your loan, the higher your monthly payment, and then if it depends on the income also. So anything above 417,000 is considered either high balance, up to 640 nowadays, and then above. So if it's 800 and they want to go within the conventional loan limit and not the jumbo, although the jumbo nowadays in the past week the jumbo has gone down, but if they don't want to be in the jumbo level, then they can still go conventional on a high level, on a high balance loan, as a high balance loan, and they can still do 5% down payment. And of course, if they have to save, so they have a fixed income, and if the income debt ratio doesn't fit the guidelines, then they have to increase the down payment, or they can still qualify for a down payment assistance.
So what are some of the programs that may be available to people? I know you guys have brought some really good people on here. Reginald Nunley, is he still doing what's the mass housing?
Yes. Yes.
There's still and you guys have taken a road show out there trying, doing these classes. I know Rhodes has attended them when he was away. These classes to. Do you recommend people do the first-time home buyers classes? And are you guys going to be doing any in the future?
Yeah, we're doing one on March 15.
Where is
that? At Mattapan Library at 1 to 4.
1 to 4. Okay, I'll be in session.
There, yeah. So,
and what qualifies someone as a first-time home buyer? So people understand, because people think it's only if you've never bought a home, but that's not the case, right?
Right. So
first-time home buyers, there's 3%. On a conventional loan, the minimum is 3%. On government, it's 3.5%. But government loans are cheaper in interest rates.
Right. So what qualifies?
There's not.
How many years can you not? Since you bought the house, can you consider yourself a first-time home buyer again?
Oh yeah, if 3 years, in the last 3 years, if they have not owned a home in the last 3 years, they are considered a home buyer or a first-time home buyer. Yes.
Okay. So if you had a home, you sold it because you wanted to cash out because the market was so good.
You've been renting.
Or you've been renting.
Or living with
living with someone else with in-law. You can reuse that. I even seen some people who again, if you own a home and then you want to buy, you have a change in in your life, like you had a new job somewhere. There's certain rules where you can still use I don't know if it's the FHA, but you use like 5% down to buy that next home, right?
Right.
Right. So you can explain explain to the bank why you need that loan. You know?
Well, I was going to ask you, like, as far as like mortgage and or being a homeowner, is there like a general rule of thumb, like saying like, because I remember as a kid I used to hear like it's like 1 week's pay should cover your rent or mortgage. If not, you're living beyond your means. Is that still the case?
That's so like that'll be like 25%. I would say you want to spend get in where you fit in.
Okay.
Let's start there.
Okay.
So if it needs to be 45, so be it. Because what you're not calculating, even if you're spending 45% of your,
You're building equity.
You're building equity.
Yeah.
So it's like a forced savings. And most people they say they want to save.
I try to tell people that, but they don't listen.
They understand like part of that so your first couple years only 15% of your payments is going towards your
principal.
Principal.
Yeah.
So, but that's better than
Nothing.
saying that you're saving and you're actually going on vacations and having lobster dinners every night.
But you know, it's funny when people say that they save, they don't realize the money that they're getting from the interest from the bank doesn't beat taxes or inflation. So they're actually losing money by it sitting in the bank.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's tax deductible, right?
And if you can pay, I tell people, if you can pay an extra $100 a month, you think that's not a lot. That helps you in the long run.
Yes.
Bringing down your principal,
Yeah.
because your
Yes.
principal interest
Yes.
is compounded daily.
Right.
So if you, rather than going out and buying those shoes or that car or all those other things that you don't need that are on your credit card at 29%, right?
You can literally call it in a principal only payment and then really make an impact.
And then the thing is, it's like if you make one extra payment a year, don't you shorten the 30-year
Yeah.
Mortgage loan by
Absolutely.
9 years, and you save like $200,000 at least?
Yeah.
One of the things that we teach at the homebuyer class is budgeting. Before they can even, before they even think of going for a pre-approval, they should have a budget.
Okay.
So they look at their pay stubs and just calculate, 53% should go towards, 53 to 55% should go towards their cost of living and savings. Set aside 10% for savings. And I think if they just follow that, they can, build up their down payment.
Or if you can spend less than 30, the number's like 33% on housing, that's great.
Okay.
But if it's your home, you can spend a little more. It's just you have to.
But again, as long as it's below, I guess like 40%,
The 47%.
Okay.
So the banks,
That's what they're
threshold for
looking
the
at.
banks is 47%.
Okay.
Yes.
Again, that's tight.
Okay.
But
I think this is where the discipline comes in, right? Where people think like buying a new car is an investment and they don't realize it's
Depreciation.
Yes.
And real estate does just the
opposite,
It's
yeah.
very rare. I don't know of any properties that I purchased that didn't increase in value, but like people laugh at me because I drive a 2005
Truck. Yeah.
but I'm like, okay,
It still runs. It gets you to A to B, right?
it's got 100,000 miles on it, and for the most of my career, I had a car from work, so I didn't care about
The
those
mileage,
things.
the gas.
But I look at my savings in that aspect, but also that truck from the time I drove it off the lot depreciated. And I buy used vehicles because let somebody else take the biggest hit.
Right.
How do we get people to change that mindset? Because we have to have some sacrifices. Like I tell people, like one guy he was saying that I worked with, and he wanted to buy a home. And I just looked around and I said, okay, I can save you right now $600 a month. He says, no way you can. I said, every day you come in here and because you buy about $30 worth of Dunkin' Donuts between your family and yourself.
Wow.
I said, if you just bought the K-Cups or even just a pound of coffee, right?
Yeah.
That would probably last you several months.
Right.
Mhm.
Yes.
And it's less than what you pay for that one day at
Mm.
Dunkin' Donuts. So he did it for a month, and he came and he's like, wow, I didn't realize how much I was spending. And he said, not only that, he said, my wife stopped smoking, right?
Wow. That's a lot of money
Yes.
you're saving right
Yes.
Right? He
Yes.
said they weren't realizing until because like they always tell people sometimes too, if you really want to stop people, pay cash for it, right?
Yeah.
Swiping the card, it seems like, oh well,
Yes.
I'll deal with it later.
Right.
But when you have to deal with it in real time, you
Yes.
spend less.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, they had this: don't spend any
Any money? Yes.
right?
Yes. How'd you do?
I did great. I didn't leave the house.
Well, I waited till midnight to get gasoline.
And that's why I didn't leave the house, because I had a quarter of a tank. So I stayed home. But I think that's the biggest part with getting people acclimated, getting them ready, is to stop some of the spending habits that they already like. You can't buy a new home and continue to spend
the way you're spending now. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So
That's one of the do's and don'ts when we teach the home buyer class. That's why they have to come and attend a home buyer class wherever they want to attend.
And they
it.
get a certificate, right? From I know
we don't run certificates.
Yes, not yet, because these are compressed courses. Because we want to we want to bring it out there without people spending 8 hours of class to get a certificate. It's an 8-hour class. So what we're doing is we're compressing the class into a 3-hour class so that they get the basic principles. Yeah. And we teach them about budgeting, about the credit scoring, credit solutions, what they need to do, what they don't need to do when they're
because everything is going up. I mean,
I
think the gas companies just said if you're National Grid, they're going to lower your bill by $40, but they've raised it. So all of these things are factors when you have to come in. Like I said, you can't compete. You need heat, so sometimes you don't need to go out and eat. Is there anything that I'll start with you, Sam? Anything we didn't cover that you think people should know when it comes to buying?
Well, I just wanted to kind of touch on what you just said as far as like the mindset. Like as far
That's
as
a big
it's just the mindset. It all starts with identity. And some people go, I will save once I get this promotion, or it's like it says in the Bible, you got to do with
where you're at.
Where you at. If you don't have it at
get in
this
where you
point,
fit in, huh?
Yeah.
Where have I heard that before?
If you can't do it with what you have, then you're not going to be able to
do it. Exactly.
When you get more money. So with what you have is to maximize that. And a lot of people, what they consider their musts are not musts.
Yeah.
It's their wants.
It's their wants versus their needs.
And it gets in the way of their better future. It really does. So,
what my father always told us, when the blanket is small, you have to or tighten the belt, and fit under the blanket.
Sam, we got a few more questions, but before we go, how folks get in contact with you?
Yep. So you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram, Sam Reimer. It's on both places. You can also call me 617-775-3074 or shoot me an email.
How do you spell Reimer?
Rymer. So Reimer, Rymer.
Sure.
No H.
No age.
Exactly.
No. So there's a segment of my family.
Do you have a physical office now? Or you?
Yeah, I'm in Milton.
Okay.
Off Granite Street. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm going to have to come out and get some coffee with you. Yeah.
Are you renting or owning?
No, rent.
Okay.
You got to get in when you fit in. Get in when you fit in. Exactly. He's doing the same thing each time.
Right.
He gave away his house to his kids.
Oh, okay. And Cora, how folks reach out to you? We give it all.
Well, I just want to add one more thing, Larry.
Oh, we're not done.
Talking about what we have not discussed is about affordable loans, affordable housing.
Okay.
So affordable loans, these are the mass housing is giving away down payment assistance up to $30,000, 0%. No monthly payment, but you have to qualify for it. And there's another one with just 2%. Where can you find a loan with 2%, right?
Well, affordable
we're going to talk to you to find out.
Affordable loans is what my kids call their allowance.
Daddy, yes. That's what somebody called me the other day, and he started, I want to buy this house, blah, blah, blah. And then it turns out the credit is not going to work. So I said, well, you got to do first things first. Take care of your credit and go to Daddy Bank.
Right. Well, as I said, because I know, like last time when we did the show, Sam was broadcasting live from to the Caribbean, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So
with the kids.
I grew up. I want to be like.
I'm
Sam.
not exactly. I'm like Sam. Can you adopt me?
right.
Back to
84 degrees.
The reason why Rhodes asked you how you spell your last name because when he changes his name, become a dependent.
Go to absolutely change the Reimer. Go to the Reimer Beach.
Exactly. So, Cora, how do folks reach out to you? We over here.
I'm in downtown Boston on Arch Street, just across Macy's. Yeah. So instead of going shopping, go across the street and find out first before you go shopping. Go across the street, look for me, and let's talk about how you will get your first home.
And again, this class, because I think it's very important because you guys bring that whole wraparound service and explain to people about having to cut back on things that are not necessary.
Yes.
Like budgeting and saving.
Budgeting.
Yep.
And
budgeting
when is the
very
workshop again?
March 15 at the Mattapan Library.
From 1 to 4.
1 to 4 in the afternoon.
Is it
So-
all in person, or can they participate through Zoom? I know a lot of folks are going hybrid, but
It's in person.
Yeah,
person.
it's
And
in
that's the
person.
best. This is the type of really workshops you really need to be in. The
Yeah,
room.
it's better to be in the room.
Yes.
it doesn't
because you
have
can
the
take
same-
notes and stuff like that, and you can
Right.
ask questions more directly.
Well, we will bring refreshments, but the library doesn't allow people to eat in the library, but they'll
Go
get
out.
a bag
Okay.
with all the goodies in there.
Good. They can take it on.
Yeah,
The
yeah. So, and then they can reach me anytime by email or by cell phone.
road. And
Text me
what's those numbers and
508-345-4726 and email C Holbrook, like the town, at themoneystore.com.
Okay. And Pastor Hobbs, what do we look at the time? I know we're getting close to the.
So
1 minute.
what,
1 minute.
I was just gonna say this. Every time they come in, I always like to punch this little thing because he says, "Get in when you fit in." And with Kokora, I like to say, "Marry the house, but date the rate."
Date the rate, right? That's right. I like that.
So should people? When you say the rates, do you suggest that people refinance in this, or the rates still?
Well, it depends on where.
are, okay.
Yeah, because a lot of people before the 2022,
they have really
they
low
had
rates.
2.5, they have
Right.
3%,
Right.
and 3.5. I don't even recommend it.
Okay.
Well, what if they need the money for the next house? They can just do a HELOC,
Oh,
a home equity line of credit,
Yes, that's,
and
And remember,
or a
folks,
HE loan.
With the tax code changes, the equity lines are no longer tax deductible. So just be careful what you pull
Oh,
out, because
okay.
you
Yeah.
can't deduct that
So-
interest any longer, and that's a huge blow to people.
Right.
Right.
So
Speaking
when
But
is
it's
it
funny
going
how-
to take effect?
That's already done.
in effect.
It's already in
done.
effect.
Oh, it's already in
It was the
effect?
last
Oh.
tax cut.
but here's
Because they see a lot of
Yeah.
people
All
not
right.
taking the HELOC.
We've got to go. Sam Reimer,
Sorry,
Thanks for
yeah.
having
Holbrook,
us. Thanks
thank
for
you so
having us.
much. And we got to make this as we do a regular segment. You've been listening at the
Yes.
Round Table with MAMLEO. We'll be back next week.
Thank you so much,
Thanks.
Larry. Thank you, Pastor Hobbs.
You guys
Thank you
make
so
it
much.
interesting.
Cause see through the lies, you ain't living what you spitting. If your money's so long, why your dog's in prison? Why your baby mom's stripping, why your mom's still living in that same broken home that you used to sell piffin'. You ain't gotta lie to me to sell me a track. You ain't gotta rock fake jewels or walk around strap. I respect artists getting money, but love them for spitting crack. And the fact that one track can move a family out the trap. It's a dream for us lost souls brought up in the mix. I'm motivated by the artists coming out in my midst. And the artists that paved the way when I didn't exist. Music's a skyscraper, I'm just trying to add a couple bricks.
This is for the dreamers. They say I am a dreamer. Cause I still believe that anything is possible as long as you work hard. Hustle real hard, hustle real hard. Hustle real hard, hustle so if I never see ya, never get the chance to meet ya. No, I came up from the bottom, always rooting for the